I speak 9 languages, said the young black woman, her voice calm and unwavering. The judge, Harrison Foster, laughed, but his amusement quickly gave way to surprise as he realized the seriousness in her tone. The laughter echoed through the courtroom like a distant thunder, mocking yet hollow. Foster leaned back in his chair, wiping imaginary tears of amusement from his eyes as he observed the 24-year-old woman standing before him, her hands cuffed but her posture resolute. 9 languages, he repeated between chuckles, attempting to regain his composure. Miss Williams, this is a court of law, not a talent show. Kesha Williams remained motionless, her deep brown eyes fixed on the magistrate who would decide her fate. Accused of forging college diplomas to secure work as a translator for multinational companies, she had been arrested 3 days ago at her modest home on the outskirts of Atlanta, in front of neighbors and news cameras that had immediately turned her misfortune into a national spectacle. Prosecutor Marcus Thompson, impeccably dressed in a tailored suit with a condescending smile, rifled dramatically through papers on his desk. Your Honor, the defendant claims fluency in English, Spanish, French, Mandarin, Arabic, German, Russian, Japanese, and Portuguese. Yet she only possesses a high school education and grew up in a housing project. The fraud is obvious. It is true I do not hold any college degrees, Kesha responded, her voice steady, commanding attention. But silence from other defendants does not imply dishonesty. Judge Foster raised a skeptical eyebrow. Miss Williams, I suggest you stop prolonging this embarrassment. We have evidence indicating you charged substantial fees for services you could not have provided. Kesha's hands, cuffed but unwavering, gestured slightly as she replied. With all due respect, Your Honor, you are judging me without hearing me. I would like an opportunity to demonstrate my abilities. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Demonstrate? Foster laughed, leaning back. What are you going to do? Recite the Chinese alphabet? Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a defense attorney who had offered to represent Kesha after seeing the case in the news, watched with growing indignation. She had advised her client against insisting on a demonstration, warning that it could backfire, but Kesha had remained resolute. She would not merely defend herself, she would assert her truth. Your Honor, Dr. Rodriguez said, standing firmly, my client has the right to properly defend herself. If she claims these skills, we should allow her to demonstrate them. Foster adjusted his glasses, visibly irritated. Look at her, he scoffed. A young black woman with no higher education. How could she possibly speak 9 languages? The room fell silent. Journalists exchanged shocked glances. Some members of the jury shifted uncomfortably, and the racist undertone of Foster's words hung heavy in the air. Kesha's eyes narrowed, a flash of steely determination crossing her face. She had faced doubt her entire life, yet she had developed the patience and resilience to confront it directly. Your Honor, she said, her tone calm but intense, you just illustrated precisely why I am here. Not because I fabricated my abilities, but because society refuses to believe that someone from my background can possess extraordinary talent. Foster's smirk faltered. He realized he had stepped into dangerous territory, but it was too late. The cameras had captured every word. Kesha's measured, commanding presence suggested she held knowledge far beyond what anyone in the courtroom had anticipated, a silent strength honed by years of proving herself to those who doubted her. Prosecutor Thompson jumped at the opportunity to attack. We have 3 multinational companies that hired the defendant. Global Tech lost a $2 million contract due to errors in translations from English to Mandarin. Diplomatic Solutions had legal documents rejected by embassies because of mistakes in French and Arabic. And the International Aid Foundation had its humanitarian proposal rejected by the UN because the Russian translations appeared amateurish. This is not mere fraud. It is sabotage. Kesha remained composed. She understood the automatic assumptions cast upon her, the prejudice, the disbelief, but her expression conveyed neither surprise nor fear, only quiet resolve. Miss Williams, Foster said, adopting a patronizing tone, you have a chance to admit your mistakes, accept a plea bargain, and perhaps receive a lighter sentence. Stop this charade and be honest. Kesha smiled subtly, not bitterly, not defiantly, but with knowledge. Your Honor, may I ask a question about these companies? When did Global Tech realize my translations were allegedly incorrect? Before or after they learned I lacked a college degree? And Diplomatic Solutions, did they reject my work before or after discovering I grew up in Mechanicsville, Atlanta's poorest housing project? Dr. Rodriguez stood, objecting. Your Honor, these are legitimate questions about potential discrimination. Foster banged his gavel. Overruled. Background does not justify fraud. Kesha's calm gaze never wavered. You mentioned it is statistically unlikely for someone of my background to master 9 languages. May I ask, how many people of my background do you personally know? The courtroom fell silent. Every word reinforced her argument. She was not merely defending herself, she was confronting systemic prejudice head-on. An elderly woman in the gallery quietly rose. Mrs. Chun, a retired teacher who had followed Kesha's story in the news, whispered to a neighbor. I know that girl. Kesha met her gaze for a fleeting moment, a subtle recognition passing between them, mentor and student, bound by years of shared learning and respect. Prosecutor Thompson attempted to continue. Regardless of these sociological points, we have concrete evidence of incompetence. Kesha interrupted softly. Do you know the work was incorrect? Can you speak Mandarin, Arabic, Russian? Thompson hesitated, clearly unnerved. Kesha's calm authority and precise questioning exposed the weakness in his assumptions. The courtroom was a stage, but Kesha controlled every scene. She would prove her truth, not with anger, not with spectacle, but with patience, intelligence, and undeniable skill. Every insult, every dismissal, only fueled her resolve. She was ready to show the world that underestimating her would be a grave mistake. The courtroom was charged with tension. Kesha Williams stood tall, her handcuffs removed, her expression calm yet commanding. Judge Foster, who had laughed at her mere claim of speaking 9 languages, now looked visibly uneasy. The gallery was packed with journalists, curious onlookers, and several freelance translators who had come to witness the spectacle. Kesha took a slow, deliberate breath. Your Honor, she said, I would like to demonstrate my abilities. Not for entertainment, but to show the truth about my work and the accusations against me. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, her attorney, nodded firmly. Your Honor, my client has every right to defend herself and demonstrate her skills. This is necessary for justice. Foster gritted his teeth but reluctantly agreed. Very well. Proceed, but keep it brief. Kesha stepped to the center of the courtroom. Daniel Park, her digital security expert, activated a laptop projecting slides on a large screen. Charts, communications from Global Tech, Diplomatic Solutions, and the International Aid Foundation filled the screen, highlighting inconsistencies and patterns of discrimination. Kesha began with Mandarin. Her pronunciation was flawless, moving seamlessly between Beijing and regional dialects. The gallery watched, mouths slightly open, as she translated sentences with cultural nuance and precision that few professionals could match. She transitioned into French, reciting a short literary passage with perfect cadence and intonation. Next came Spanish, Arabic, German, Russian, Japanese, and Portuguese. Each language was delivered with confidence, clarity, and cultural understanding. Her explanations of idiomatic expressions and technical terms revealed a depth of knowledge that was undeniable. Dr. Victoria Johnson, the corporate litigation specialist, stepped forward. Your Honor, these translations are not only accurate, they preserve intent, meaning, and cultural sensitivity. Ms. Williams's work has been unfairly dismissed because of her background, not her ability. Foster's face flushed. He glanced at Thompson, who now looked pale and flustered. The narrative of incompetence was collapsing under the weight of proof, live demonstration, and expert testimony. Daniel Park projected internal emails showing executives discussing the avoidance of freelancers without elite degrees. The messages revealed deliberate rejection of qualified minority translators. Even Thompson's attempts to dismiss the evidence seemed weak and unconvincing. Kesha paused and addressed the judge directly. Your Honor, the errors these companies allege do not exist in the work itself. They exist in their biased perception of who is capable. The truth is clear, and my work can verify it in multiple languages. She concluded with a demonstration, switching fluidly between the 9 languages, reciting poetry in Arabic, explaining medical terms in Russian, discussing philosophy in German, and singing a French song. Each transition was effortless, a living proof of her mastery. Dr. Morrison, retired UN ambassador, confirmed her skills under oath. I have witnessed Miss Williams's translations on multiple diplomatic missions. Her work is precise, culturally accurate, and crucial for international communication. The courtroom was silent. Even journalists stopped typing, captivated by the demonstration. Judge Foster leaned back, overwhelmed, realizing the case had shifted from a simple fraud accusation to an exposure of systemic discrimination. Kesha's calm authority, her flawless skills, and the undeniable evidence left the court with no choice but to reconsider their assumptions. What began as a humiliating accusation had transformed into a compelling argument for justice and recognition. The courtroom was still buzzing from Kesha Williams's flawless demonstration of 9 languages. Judge Foster, visibly shaken, fidgeted with his gavels, unable to regain the composure he had maintained earlier. The gallery was silent, everyone absorbing the magnitude of what they had just witnessed. Kesha stepped forward, calm and poised. Your Honor, she said, the evidence is clear. The companies that accused me were not judging my skills, they were judging my background. This is about systematic discrimination, not incompetence. Dr. Elena Rodriguez added, Your Honor, the documents, expert testimony, and live demonstration conclusively show Miss Williams's proficiency. The case is no longer about alleged fraud, it's about justice and fairness for talented individuals regardless of their background. Foster swallowed hard. His authority in the room had been shaken. Are you suggesting that these companies deliberately targeted you? He asked, his voice cracking slightly. Yes, Your Honor, Kesha replied confidently. They rejected my work not because it was faulty, but because it came from someone outside their elite circle. Internal communications, emails, and whistleblower accounts confirmed this pattern. Dr. Morrison, the retired UN ambassador, stood to support her. I can confirm that Miss Williams's translations have been used in humanitarian missions, legal negotiations, and international projects. Her skill is exceptional, verified, and irrefutable. Daniel Park displayed audio recordings of company executives admitting to subjective evaluations and bias against minority translators. The gallery gasped as the proof unfolded on screen. Kesha then shared the most compelling evidence, testimonials from clients across the globe, praising the precision, cultural sensitivity, and professionalism of her translations. From Beijing to Moscow to Washington, each testimonial reinforced her credibility. Judge Foster, realizing the weight of the evidence and the live demonstration, finally spoke. Miss Williams, it is clear that your abilities are exceptional, and the accusations against you are unfounded. All charges are hereby dropped. The court formally apologizes for any inappropriate treatment or prejudice shown during this process. Thompson sat in stunned silence, unable to counter the overwhelming evidence. The courtroom erupted in whispers, journalists furiously taking notes, and Kesha remained calm, allowing the moment to speak for itself. 6 months later, Kesha sat in her new office at the United Nations, coordinating translations for global humanitarian missions. Her salary was far beyond what any American company had offered. The companies that had attempted to discredit her were now implementing diversity programs and paying damages. Mrs. Chun's mentoring and the combined efforts of Daniel Park and Dr. Victoria Johnson had ensured that Kesha not only reclaimed her reputation but also exposed systemic bias against talented freelance translators from minority communities. In an international interview, Kesha reflected, "The best revenge is not to destroy those who underestimated you. It's to build something so extraordinary that they spend the rest of their lives wondering how they could have been so blind." Her story became a beacon of inspiration, showing that perseverance, talent, and strategic action could overcome prejudice, injustice, and entrenched systems. The courtroom that had once mocked her became the stage for one of the most remarkable triumphs in recent history. Subscribe to Black Voices Raw. Follow us for more real stories of courage, exposure, and justice. Don't let lies stay hidden.